So I guess I should really tell you where I've been. I guess we should start there. Now, most of you, I think, know that I haven't been streaming for a little while. And I think I stopped streaming about the first Nando's World Tour. Yeah, time for the excuses. So I think I stopped streaming in the first or the second week in January. And today's date is the 24th of February. So I've had pretty much, we'll be getting towards 2 months. Certainly I've had 6 weeks of holiday, which is the very longest time I've ever taken away from streaming. I think the previous longest was around about a week. And the reason for taking the gap was several-fold. I think it's about 5 reasons. So the first reason was that I did a Blood Bowl tournament every weekend somewhere, either in the UK or in Europe, every weekend in 2025. I played the most tournament games ever done. I've played the most tournaments ever done. And that had a consequence of, by about October, November time, I was going to tournaments and I was quite tired. So by the time we got to December, I was really tired. I'd beaten the previous record, and the last 2 weeks in December, I actually didn't go to a tournament. And I sort of vowed to myself that I was going to take a little bit of time to not go to tournaments. And what I actually meant when I was thinking it out loud was that I just needed a little bit of time to stop being tired. What I realised was that I'd kind of run myself into the floor, and just having a weekend off wasn't going to cut it. And I went to 2 tournaments early January, and it just didn't work. Didn't really enjoy them. I was completely knackered, and it was a bit of a problem. So I knew I needed a break. The second reason, work gave me a massive project to deal with, and that the deadline for what I thought was going to be several months worth of work, maybe 6 months of work, was like 6 weeks. And it was really fun to do it. But I think that by the time I was coming home in the evening, it was 8 o'clock, sometimes 9 o'clock, and I wasn't in any energy to stream. And those two things very quickly coincided in the beginning of January to realise that I couldn't spread my energy any narrower. And the way I would describe how I was being was kind of like a functioning alcoholic, but it was a functioning depressive, which was I could just about get through the workday, and then I came home and I was done. There was no energy to do anything else. And the reason I'm sharing this information, I think, was partly because I think you all want to know where I've been and what I've been doing, but because if there's anyone else out there who is thinking that they can just about hold it together in one public sphere and then they really struggle in a second one, I think that's okay. And the best thing you can do is take a step back and go, nah, not doing anymore. And I thought it was going to take me a few days, maybe a week or 2, which is when I wrote that first message. I was like, oh yeah, I'll be back in a short while. And it took, I probably could have come back last week, but the work project actually ended on this Monday. So really, it's about life balance. Now, there are 2 other reasons, which I also took a step back from. The first is a piece of good news, and the second is a piece of bad news. The piece of good news, first of all, which is that Ever and I are going to get married. And that was why I didn't say on the the World Championship stream what I was going to spend the money on. But in about 4 weeks' time, we are going to go and get married. We're only going to do a register office, we're only going to have our family there, but we're going to go and sign all that paperwork. But even so, it's still fucking expensive. So we're going to do that. So there's some good news. There is a reason for it, part of it. But the other reason was we also had some bad news. Member of our family's not very well, and potentially could be quite seriously unwell. And that, at the time when I was already going, fucking hell, I'm really thin on the ground in terms of time, and I'm also struggling to deal with everything, was actually the point where I snapped and went like, know what, I'm done. And the concept of having some bad family news really made me step back and take a moment to decide what I was going to do. So yeah, I hope they're going to be okay now, and I think we'll find out soon. But really, there was kind of 4 different things all going on in this melting pot of what's going on. And then I say this last one, which is the very fifth reason, and it sounds almost silly once I've talked about the other four, but the fifth and final reason was that it was a matter of drive and determination, which was during the tabletop scene over the last year. I'd been chasing this thing that basically only I cared about. Maybe one or two others in chat were aware of it, and would be, would like to have the crown, but not many people were aiming for it. And that was that the ELO ranking, they do a reset every year, and you can be the best player in Blood Bowl on tabletop every year. Many of you probably won't even know where to look. So it only really mattered to me once I'd found out about it. But I'm very goal and task orientated as a person. So once I'd seen it and I'd set my mind on it and I'd done it, I kind of ticked it off. I was like, that's amazing, and I've done that. But at the same time, online, having won the World Championship, what do you do now? And the fifth and final reason why I needed a little bit of a break was to go, because I'd done these two goals at the same time, what do I do now? And I have to admit, I've been thinking about the last week. It's like, well, what am I going to stream? What do you guys want to watch? I don't know. I'm just reading some of the chat. Doing goblins now. Oh God, no. So that's really, I guess, where I've been. It's quite a long. You completed Blood Bowl, but honestly, that's where I've been, and that's what I've been doing. And I don't know whether any of that relates to anyone, but it's great. It is nice to see all the chat and see you all back again. It really is really nice to have you all together, and I'm sure you've been enjoying yourself without me. Yes. Illusionist. Wait, a legendary bash coach AndyDavo is back. Yes. Now, there's another topic, and I don't know whether any of you were aware of this. And I wasn't sure whether I was going to address it on the stream, and I haven't checked if I'd see if I'm allowed to talk about this. But I'm going to talk about it anyway. And those of you who are unaware, Cyanide is owned by a company called Nacon, and Nacon trade on the French stock market. And a week ago, sorry, on Friday, so today's Tuesday, so 5 days ago, they ceased trading on the stock market. And that's a bit concerning. Yeah, well, indeed, BB Nut, you're quite right. Yeah, exactly, NDA. That's public knowledge. It is. Did you buy them? No, I haven't bought any Nacon or Big Ben stuff. Now there is a public statement out there, and this is why I've decided that I was going to talk about it. But I'm really nervous, first of all, for this studio, and I hope that we get Blood Bowl 3 to continue, or indeed we get one more Blood Bowl. But it has made me think, like, what would we do? What genuinely, like, as a group, what would we all do if, for some reason, Nacon doesn't continue, and therefore that does yoink over the Warhammer Blood Bowl? Play Roblox, migrate to Fumble. Yeah, I think we probably would end up having to migrate to Fumble, right? Or we'd have to buy a hot tub. Nacon are just the publishers. Well, Nacon own Cyanide, and Cyanide are the guys that make the game. So it's for me, it's a little concerning to see this happen, but I hope they're going to be okay. But there is a possibility that if Nacon don't sort their stuff out, then we are going to have a problem. Yeah, L-Play Gamer there says GW could license the game to someone else who I think, like Fat Shark. Yeah, I David Banker them for all the free warp zone, maybe. I mean, wrapped up in all of this, there's people that I know who are employed at Nacon and Cyanide, and a lot of which I like. So while I was just talking there very selfishly about how I would feel like if the game didn't continue, you've got to remember that people would potentially not have a job, and that is far more concerning, I suppose. Sorry, I suppose. It is far more concerning. Hello, Buzzkill. Thank you very much indeed for 65 months. Yeah, I'm back.